Hey there, true believers. We're taking a little break from the podcast at the end of season 3, but we're still going to be putting out a few bonus episodes. But in the meantime, we're also going to be unlocking some of our Patreon episodes that you can find at patreon.com/that90sSM show. And we'll just give you a little taste of what you can get if you send a little money our way, which, as always, is helpful to stop us from actively losing money on this podcast. But if not, then just enjoy this podcast and, as always, go about your lives.
Hey vampire fuckers, and welcome to another episode of That 90s Spider-Man Show / the Patreon feed. Today we're talking about Blade, but not Blade 1, 2 or Trinity. Apparently there's more. My name's Henry, and alongside me is Jack.
Here to tell you that we're very enthusiastic about this episode.
Super enthusiastic.
We enjoy making it, we enjoy talking at you guys, but Henry's lack of enthusiasm comes from the fact that there's probably a good reason why you haven't heard of Blade, the series, aka the live-action TV series based on the Marvel character Blade.
So, after we finished recording Blade Trinity, Jack and I went on a little rabbit hole and we discovered that not only was there more David S. Goyer, but he also went back and did more Blade. And for some reason they greenlit an entire 13-episode series. We found it on DVD, we watched it on DVD, and we're here to tell you about it, because otherwise we bought it and watched it for no reason, and I can't have that.
One thing I will say, first off, right, is there's an hour and a half, 2-hour pilot episodes, and they kind of re-released them, I think, after the series had finished, as a TV movie called Blade House of Chthon. And if you ever jump into watching this via watching that as a little TV movie, like, oh, well, I'll see if this is good, then I'll check out the series. Don't do that.
Absolutely do not do that.
I think we're pretty much on the same page in that those pilot episodes is 100% the worst part of the show.
It's like Blade Trinity, but worse. It's horrible.
I felt genuine guilt when it started, because I was the one who pushed for this, because when I found out I could buy this on DVD and it wasn't that expensive, sort of gave Henry a look and he was like, oh, you motherfucker. And I sort of dragged us into this, and then it started and it was so cheap looking and so cringy, and then it continued to be so bad, but not in a fun way, that I actually felt really bad. I was like, I've committed so much time for this. We're going to spend like 13 hours watching this. Mm-hmm. Henry's going to be a little bit resentful towards me for the rest of my life, and we're not even going to get enough material for a Patreon episode on it, so it will just be this dark time in our life that we don't talk about, you know, symptomatic of
the times we're living in right
now. We're living in,
it's not really a better time to watch Blade this series really than a global pandemic which may kill hundreds of thousands.
Instead, I think what happened for me with the show as sort of an overall thing is about like 4 episodes in, it just started to pick up a bit. It was still like a couple of dud episodes. It never became like genuinely great, but it had great moments. And even when it was garbage towards the end, I was enjoying it, and I was actually invested, which is a shame because, spoilers, it ends on a big cliffhanger that will never be resolved.
Will never ever be resolved.
Didn't make it past season 1.
No. Blade the series had 13 episodes and that's it. And it was probably like, I would say 4 or 5 too many episodes.
It was getting into its groove, I think.
There was so little groove to get into. I don't know why it took 4 hours.
Yeah, I think it just started like taking some chances. I don't know what happened, but I think sometimes shows do that. They're just, the first few episodes aren't that great. Yeah. But this was like, everything is like lower, so
it was like unwatchable trash to like watchable trash, but it was never not trash.
Yeah, I would have watched the season 2 by the time we got to the end, you know? Like, not as a Patreon thing. I would have watched it out of curiosity.
You'd be like, I want to see what happens, and like play the series season 2.
Maybe if there was 3 seasons, I'd be like, no.
That seems excessive.
But we've gone through this pretty quickly, actually.
Yeah.
because it's just easier to just get out of the way.
Yeah, we have nothing better to do with our lives.
But I'll give it like a little bit of background. I mean, normally we say like, you guys should go back and watch it before you hear us talk about this. But I think this is more of a Blade Trinity thing in that.
Don't watch this.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to run through the whole thing, but it's still in canon with the Blade movies, technically.
Yeah.
We got a new Blade because apparently Wesley Snipes was asked to come back and he said no.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, and as we talked in our Blade Trinity episode, check that out on the Patreon as well. Things weren't good between David S. Goyer and Wesley Snipes. And Wesley Snipes and like the whole production team, to be honest. So it's not surprising that he didn't want to come back. It's a little surprising that he was asked. Although that might have been just a professional courtesy. Like, no one thinks he's actually going to say yes.
No. They couldn't afford to have him on the show.
Yeah, that's
Judging
probably
by,
true.
like,
It would have been a cut.
Yeah.
But this show, starring Kirk, Sticky Fingaz Jones, who...
We're just going to call Sticky for short.
Yeah, sure, Sticky. Anyway, rapper from the group Onyx. I haven't really listened to it. I think I've heard him...
Pokemon?
Well, Onyx is a rock, isn't it, as well?
It's also a rock,
yeah.
but...
I think it was a rock before it was a Pokemon, to be fair.
I guess so. Suppose.
Anyway, he's playing Blade this time around. You got Blade and his companion, kind of whistler guy, like the guy who's doing the tech.
His sidekick.
His sidekick. I've already forgotten his name.
It's Shen.
Shen, yeah. Shen is fine. It's just Blade and him hanging out in this like sort of empty office.
So many empty offices and parking lots.
Meanwhile, you've got... God, I can't remember any more names already.
You've got Krista.
Krista. That's the only name we really need to remember. Krista is a war veteran who's come home. Her little brother's been murdered. She ends up jumping into it to try and figure out what happened because the police don't care. And then sort of gets sucked into this underworld business and meeting Blade, who had worked with her little brother. And then she ends up getting bitten, turned into a vampire, but Blade gives her his magic anti-vampire serum so that she can...
control the force.
Yeah, and then she ends up becoming a double agent for the House of Kfon, which are these evil vampires. And then you spend like half the show with her, trying to work within their ranks without actually murdering people. And Blade trying to like fuck them up from the other side. That's the biggest like plot thing, and it took a little while before I realized what they were doing. Mm-hmm. But once I realized that, I was like, okay, that is a hook for a show. A double agent, like at least that's a new thing. Because at first I thought it was
going to be like a police procedural, but with Blade.
Yeah, or she was going to come across Blade, and then like Karen in the first Blade, she was just going to join the team, and then she'd be the audience POV. And by the end of the first season or whatever, she'd become, like, a badass. But instead, like, they actually turn her into a vampire, and she actually starts having, like, a little bit of sympathy towards...
What, the main vampire dude?
Yeah, the main vampire dude.
Marcus von Skyver. One of the worst names I've ever heard in a TV show.
Yeah, Henry can actually remember the names. I can't remember any of the names.
You remember the plot, I remember the names.
Yeah, exactly. It's very weird.
Team effort.
There are stretches of the show that are kind of hard to pay attention to be honest.
So boring.
Yeah. Basically, this was like on Spike TV in 2006. It just aired over that summer. It started off with actually like really high numbers for the pilot, but then it just like shot, drop.
I wonder why that was.
A few months later, they just announced there's not going to be a second season. According to Jeff Johns, who, by the way, for anyone who knows Jeff Johns, that's kind of a big name.
He's kind of his rock bottom is this TV show.
I think so. Funnily enough, not David S. Goyer's rock bottom.
There's also Ramin Djawadi's rock bottom as well.
Yeah.
Ramin Djawadi, who did the theme song for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
As well as the score for the Iron Man, the first Iron Man film, is in all of these episodes.
Probably rock bottom for Bokeem Woodbine as well.
Yeah. And probably for Richard Roundtree.
And Sticky.
Yeah. It's just like a whole load of rock bottoms. Maybe even rock bottom for Jill Wagner. I don't think she's gone lower than this.
Who plays Krista,
yeah.
Right? Anyway, Jeff Johns created the show along with David S. Goyer, and he later told Wizard magazine that the network didn't want to cancel it, but the network just didn't have much money, so they just had to cut a bunch of stuff.
Really didn't have much money.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
And you wouldn't think that this would have been a big chunk of it, because it doesn't look expensive whatsoever.
Ugh, it looks so cheap.
Yeah, also, a thing to point out, if you're thinking like, you might think like, okay, what does a lame Blade TV show look like? And you might imagine, okay, it's going to have these hokey effects, and there's going to be very low amount of blood, very low amount of action, a lot of talking to like cover costs. That's not what is happening here. It looks cheap, but there's actually quite a lot of practical effects at certain points.
Probably a lot of unpaid interns.
Yeah, there's a lot of action. There's pretty consistent action. A lot of the action's pretty good, actually.
I'd probably say the action's the best part of this.
Yeah, for sure. And it is gory, and it is full of boobs.
It's like every like third scene there's like a topless woman.
Yeah, and it's...
This show is horny.
It's way more egregious than Game of Thrones ever was.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of like True Blood. Obviously True Blood is better than this, but like True Blood I feel is like on the level of gore and sex.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but it's hard because with vampire mythology is so much just about sex.
Just gore
and about
sex,
romance and lust and that kind of shit that is going to play it in, but it is over the top here because it's not even just sex. It's just like a woman comes in and she's going to be topless.
Yeah,
you know,
there's maybe like 2 sex scenes,
and there's like 2 main characters. You got Krista, who we spoke about before, and Chase, who's like the right-hand woman of the main bad guy, and both of them have several scenes where they're naked, not like full frontal, but like them just like walking through a room naked and you see them from behind for no reason. Krista is in the shower at least like 3 times an episode.
It's like every episode is like a long shower scene where she injects herself with a serum and has like a little mini orgasm.
Yeah, she acts it really strange.
Yeah, all the vampire shit is acted really strange.
But I think part of this comes from, I don't know if you know much about Spike TV, but
I know it's probably not like it's the anti-HBO, I'm guessing.
I don't know if there's really an equivalent in the UK, but its initial slogan was the first network for men.
Oh my god!
It's like the links of
it's the Axe body spray of TV.
The Axe body spray of TV. By the time. Yeah, it's like a Yorkie bar of a TV network.
Oh no.
By the time this show had actually like started, that wasn't their slogan anymore. They changed it to get more action.
Somehow that's worse.
Yeah, but there's still a thing going on.
There's a lot of like misogyny in this show.
Well, they very quickly wanted to get away from being known as this like chauvinistic, violent place.
Ooh,
and then that's where they were, where they're like, we need to change this. What's our next show on the slate? It's Blade, which is full of boobs and ass and blood. And
like a lot of unnecessary violence towards women.
Yeah, there's a lot of violence towards women.
Blade punches so many women in the face.
Yeah, including a pregnant woman. I mean, I will say that for Blade, they go super hard on Blade being unlikable in this, in a way that I kind of appreciate. But it took, I'd say, like until maybe like episode 8 out of 13 before I started to kind of like Sticky as Blade.
Sticky was terrible as Blade.
He was, yeah, he was pretty bad, but I feel like he was slowly getting into the groove of it, which I think is why a second season he might have gotten better, because he started getting a bit more charisma, and he was still playing this asshole character. Like Wesley is playing like, I say Wesley's like he's my friend.
Was he your friend?
I wish he was my friend. Well, actually, no, I don't.
No, you don't.
Get into some crazy hijinks for that guy.
Oh, yeah. You'd be in jail for tax evasion, at least.
Did you know that tax isn't real? No. Oh, thanks, Wesley. Wesley Snipes plays Blade like a proper dickhead in the Blade trilogy, but Sticky's version goes that much further. Like, even Shen, he barely has a connection with him.
Shen is trying, for the love of God.
Yeah, and I kind of wish they gave like just a little bit, because there's a proper point where you're like, these guys,
not even like acquaintances.
Yeah, Shen is like kind of he's trying to be nice, but they're like colleagues who just don't get on. Or, well, it's like colleagues where one of them is a horrible asshole and the other one is kind of trying to make it work and failing.
Half of the scenes of this show are Shen making up like a bad joke and Blade just staring at him in silence and walking away.
But even like there's a point later in the show where Shen gets like kidnapped and tortured, and when Blade sees him again, I thought like this was the point where, you know, he's acting like he doesn't care and you're going to reveal like, oh, he actually does care. Or like maybe he's going to try and save him and it's the one time like Blade acts reckless because he doesn't think he is, but he's actually emotionally connected. Because that's the kind of way you expect that arc to go. But no, he just doesn't give a fuck. Shen gets out on his own and then Blade just like, oh, hey, you're out, let's go. And then he's like, yeah, I lost a bunch of fingernails. And Blade's like, okay, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, shit. Like, why aren't you driving?
I ended up liking Blade when he got a few more like, he got started getting some one-liners, and he was still playing like this. It started like leaning into the trash, right? Because we knew that like it had this weird violence and nudity and sort of, it was trashy.
It was trashy, but it was like, wasn't having fun with the trash. It was like, no, this is fucking HBO. This is serious. You look at all this and be like, give me a fucking Emmy. And you're like, no, this is garbage. And I think about halfway through the show realised that like it was garbage.
Yeah, there's a point in, I believe, the final episode where a familiar, who, for those who can't remember, is like a sort of servant of vampires.
Yeah, they're humans who want to be vampires but can't be vampires.
He has a naked woman in his room who you've never met before. She's completely naked, makes her bend over table. He's going to have sex with her. She's acting like a woman in a porn video.
She probably was a porn star.
Yeah, it's really like weird. And then he's about to have sex with her. It's way too much we're seeing, to be honest. And then he gets out a condom and makes a point about how I'm putting on a condom now. Then Blade comes out of nowhere and says, you're going to need more protection than that, and takes this guy down. And then follows that up by stabbing the woman through the back and through the table.
Just a random woman.
Then he fucking steals this guy's eye so they can use it for this retinal scan. And that was a point where I was like, this scene is horrible. You don't want to see like this woman treated like this absolute object and then killed by the main character who doesn't give a fuck just to make a one-liner. It's just like a really icky situation. But it was so committed to that ickiness that I was like, okay, this is something, you know?
Yeah.
This is like some insane trash we're seeing right now.
But at least it's like, it knows that and it's trying to like push the boat out as far as it can.
Yeah, and I'd prefer less of that ugly side of it, but at least at least it's kind of like committing to something.
Yeah.
But it took a while for it to get to that point. Along the way, there are some weird detours. I thought it was going to be way more procedural than it was.
Yeah, me too.
There was a couple of bits in it that were a bit like Villain of the Week, where like there's one where there's like a serial killer vampire.
Who's like who like kidnaps women and like takes out their teeth or something like that. Some bullshit.
Yeah, but even that, they kind of tied it into the overall plot. But for the most part, like Blade is kind of running around trying to like get shit done, getting his ass handed to him.
I mean, this version of Blade cannot fight.
He basically looks just like a regular guy, doesn't he? Apparently he's got powers, really.
No. He's barely in shape.
So he's running around sort of trying to catch up whilst Krista is actually doing the legwork of sort of infiltrating this house of vampires. And I think her side of the story is like way more compelling. Because I ended up like starting to kind of like the vampires. And I also think, and this is like one of the only things I'll say about the show that I think I can say is like edging on being good. They take Krista to this point where her life is so shit that the life that Marcus is offering her becomes actually tempting.
Yeah.
And you can kind of understand because it's like, it's this attraction of nihilism, which I think kind of works well with the vampire thing of like, if that's the point like you're at, like why not be like, the world is shit, I'm making the world worse.
Yes, she is.
There's no point in trying to be a good person and that sort of stuff. Might as well just go with the flow. Yeah, and then just like enjoy myself and have this life, you know, and you start thinking like, is she actually going to go there? And that was the point when I was like, you know, starting to lean forward in my seat a bit like, okay, what's happening? Yeah. And I also really liked Chase.
Jessica Gower, I want to say, is the actress's name.
What's her name?
Jessica Gower.
I actually really liked her character. I ended up like being way more interested in the vampires and their sort of politics going on there.
Yeah.
And then they introduce this elder vampire called Charlotte, right?
Who is like in the body of a 9-year-old girl, which is fun, actually.
Yeah.
It's
And
genuinely
what
quite
was
fun.
that actress called? Emily Hurst. And so she's like this 8-year-old vampire or something.
Yeah.
But, well, 8-year-old in appearance, but she's actually one of the pureblood elders ruling this house.
Yeah.
Whereas Marcus is, I guess, head of operations or whatever.
He's also a term blood, as they put it.
Yeah.
Term with an N.
Yeah, there's
Which we
definitely
eventually figured out.
there's definitely a point when they said turn and it sounded so much like they said turd. And I found that just so funny. And I've just got a stupid child brain. But she doesn't have a stupid child brain. She has a super old brain. And she's kind of ruthless and she eats babies and shit.
She generally eats a baby. It's insane.
she outacts most of the adult actors in the show as well.
I wouldn't say that they were actors though.
Yeah.
Sticky Fingers is not an actor.
But going back to Krista, right? The main thing to say about Krista is the reason that she gets to such a dark place where the vampires start being a bit more seductive a lifestyle is because
she's a dumbass.
She fucking tanks her life so hard that we were shouting at the screen.
Every bad decision she could possibly make, she makes a worse decision than that. It's insane.
Her mum out of nowhere becomes terminally ill. Her mum doesn't want to go to the hospital, wants to stay at home. You can tell she's thinking about turning her mum into a vampire, and she's like, "Mum, do you want to stay forever with me?" And you're thinking, this is such a bad idea. Yeah. You've had a terrible experience being a vampire at this point. She's only making it work because she's having constant injections, and she wants to bring her mother into that life. Also, her mother has other people in her life apart from her. Her mum probably doesn't want to hang out with her constantly for the rest of all time and not see her family. But anyway, she does it. She tries to turn her mum to a vampire, but then she's attacked and she ends up having a fight and getting distracted. Her mum fucking vampires out and then goes on a run, kills so many people, kills her dad, right?
Her uncle.
Her uncle, right? Who's her only other relative we've seen in the show. Because her brother's already dead. Oh yeah, then fucking Blade turns up and chops her head off, right? Is that how it ends?
That's how it ends.
Yeah, and you're you just
wiped out the rest of your family.
It's entirely her fault, and not a tragic mistake of this was well intentioned. It's you knew what the bad effects would be. Yeah. And you still did it. In
a better written show, there'd be a point where Krista would be tempted to do it, but then she'd come to her senses and be well, no. I don't want my mum to be an immortal vampire who has to suffer like I did. She deserves humanity. But this is not a well-written character at all.
Speaking of badly written characters, what's the name of the cop?
You mean fucking Collins?
Yeah.
Fucking Collins.
Is teased throughout the show of you see him as this regular human slowly discovering what's going on in the background that we already know because of watching Blade. He's slowly figuring it out. It takes him a while. Mm-hmm. And then he gets involved and he's just this sort of useless dude who insists on being a part of Blade's mission. And the one point where he actually does stuff with Blade, he just holds Blade back. Has his sort of tragic death, but he just dies being an idiot. And it's just this very long arc where he's just terrible.
Do you know what I think about Collins?
What?
He definitely voted Republican.
Why?
He's got that air of no, I can do this. I got this. I'm personally responsible. And he he's a Trump supporter. I don't know how I know this, but I just innately felt this guy's a Republican.
You know what? This is a very weird reference I'm going to make. Mm-hmm. And you might not remember it, and anyone who's not English 100% won't remember it. So this is for no one. Did you ever watch that charity football match? I can't remember what charity it was for. I think it was maybe various countries playing each other, and there was an English team that had a bunch of celebrities on it.
Did it have Boris Johnson there?
And it had Boris Johnson, who in the years since has become our Prime Minister. The one thing I remember about that game,
I know what you're talking about,
is when Boris Johnson halfway through the game just rugby tackles someone. Yeah. But he kind of trips and falls as he's doing it, so it's not even a good rugby tackle, and it's like, why were you trying that? Do you not know what football is? I just remember watching it on repeat when I was younger. Like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Wasn't it like a child or something as well to make it worse?
It wasn't a child.
It was like a teenage boy or something.
It wasn't a child. That would have been funny, but it was not. I can't remember who it was, but he just wiped someone out for no reason and kind of like, it's just the most bumbling move. Anyway, just like picture that. That's what Collins is like as a cop.
He's an asshole, and he's also bad at being an asshole.
Yeah, he's just like, he just like trips and falls into someone else.
Even on that mission with Blade, there's a thing that Blade is like, he leaves him like wounded in the middle of like a cafeteria.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you're the bait for this trap I've got set up, and he just walks away.
Well, like, it's not even Blade's idea.
It's his idea.
It's the cop's idea. It's Colin's idea. He's like, oh yeah, I'll be the bait, I'll draw him in and take him out. And Blade's like, sure. And I said to you, I was like, that's a terrible idea. That won't work. And then you were like, I think Blade knows that. Yeah. And he's just going to let him die. And I was like, yeah, good. Yeah.
Like, this guy needed to die. Like, he is the worst character on this entire like plethora, this fucking carousel of terrible characters. He's the worst.
I will say two good things though, just to have some positives. There's this one episode, probably in the peak of the show, maybe even. Basically, this woman has got pregnant, and for some reason, the vampires want her child, and you don't know why. And Blade has to escort her
before punching her in the face.
Well, yeah, he punches her in the face and then escorts her.
Yeah,
but I mean, you kind of throw a massive shadow over what I'm about to say by bringing up him slapping her. But I really like that plot line.
It's a good plot line.
And I think, like, part of me thought, this is actually a good angle for something to last more than one episode. In fact, this is way more compelling than most of the plot stuff so far. It's just them hanging out, and Blade is so clearly... He's holding it back, obviously, because it's Blade, but he's clearly upset about being around a woman who's pregnant, who is associated with and might have been impregnated by a vampire. You don't know what's going on.
It's a loaded subject for him.
Yeah, and he's having these dreams and flashbacks and shit to his mum, who of course died during childbirth because she was bitten by a vampire. And you can tell it's like traumatic, and there's this whole dream sequence where she's in the kitchen, she's pregnant, she's cooking dinner, and she's like, come on in, Eric, and it's this very idyllic 50s thing, and then she kind of turns around, she's like covered in blood, and then she
says something like, kill that pregnant woman.
Yeah,
I'll show you how.
Yeah, she's like, kill the child, and she gives him a knife and makes him stab her, and it's just like, it's really fucked up. He sort of wakes up from that, and it was actually it was very intense, and I remember you sort of going like, where was this show like 8 episodes ago, you know? Because it was like, what, this, you should be starting with this. You shouldn't be like slowly building to this point. I do like that episode, and that general plot line was good. And I'll say Bokeem Woodbine, who people might know playing Shocker
in
Spider-Man Homecoming. And also he's in Fargo, I think season 2. Anyway, he's a great actor, and he's legit great in this as well, I think, as a short-time villain.
Yeah, I feel like his episodes are probably the turning point for me in the series. Whereas I probably couldn't tell you what happened before that, for the most part. But as soon as, like, his character shows up and they have their little, like, subplot, I'm like, okay, this is something now. Because I think the problem with this TV show, and as a concept, is that you have this character, Blade, who's a popular character. You've got the original screenwriter from the movies, and you have 13 episodes to talk about this character. And they fuck around with so much of this time.
It's almost like other Marvel TV shows.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a hot take.
Give me.
This has better action than any Marvel Netflix show. Bearing in mind I haven't seen Punisher, but
I would say
I think it's better than Daredevil 100%.
I disagree.
100%. You're misremembering Daredevil. You were excited to see a Daredevil fight in a hallway.
The first hallway fight is genuinely good.
Okay, but I think when you go back to those hallway fights, right, most of them are things happening off screen or stuff impressing you because it's one shot. You know, like you're like, wow, they haven't cut in a while, or they've tricked me into thinking they haven't cut in a while. But the actual choreography is Daredevil trips a guy up, punches him 10 times in the head, tackles a guy, goes off frame for 15 seconds, thrown back in frame, rinse and repeat. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'd say actually the best fight scene in all of Daredevil for me is the Punisher hallway prison fight. I know, like 20 guys are sent in with shivs and stuff, and he just has to he just kills the shit out of them. I feel like that's the best one because it has actual like mounting tension to it. And this show doesn't ever like have that, but I think it has fun choreography. There's loads of wire work, and I kind of love wire work and miss it because there was a point when it was happening a lot, and now they got CG. There's no point in ever doing it.
Yeah, and
I kind of wish or there's an idea that is kind of hokey, but I kind of miss it, especially when you got people with superpowers. If someone gets kicked and they fly upwards and hit the wall, that's cool because they got superpowers. You don't need to like. We can all restrain ourselves from rolling our eyes because that's clearly someone on a wire. Who cares?
It's a fucking movie.
Yeah. And I really like the action throughout this show, to be honest. My only real problem with it is that Blade gets his ass kicked so much. Like, he basically seems like he doesn't have powers.
Yeah, he's just some dude.
But then inexplicably will become crazy powerful at random points.
His character is pretty poorly written. So I guess that's probably the best part, right? Is the action.
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, nothing else is really strong enough because the plot has moments I like in it. It does feel like they're trying out a few new things. I like how they have the Turnbloods, who are like, you know, people who are turned into vampires, butting up against sort of discrimination from the pure blood vampires. And I think that's an interesting dynamic that wasn't explored very much in the movies.
Like Deacon Frost does that a little bit.
Yeah, but even he's almost like a
rebel vampire.
Yeah, he's like a rock star, like fuck the system guy. Whereas these guys are kind of like they're being very polite about it and playing within the rules, but just needlessly insulted at every turn. And you kind of end up getting on Marcus's side and being like, yeah, fuck these elder vampires. You know, you guys should take over.
Yeah,
it's still not good for most of it.
What would you say the worst part of the show is?
I'm not sure if I have something like... The worst part of it, I guess, would just be the general monotony of the first half of the season. I don't really have a clear thing to point to other than just being bored and struggling to get through it. Oh, I tell you what, it's bringing in Richard Roundtree, aka Shaft.
That's what I was going to say.
He comes in for one scene. He kills Bokeem Woodbine. By the way, he's playing Blade's dad, which is great casting because there's the whole blaxploitation element. He comes in and then Blade's like, fuck you, you abandoned me. I thought you were dead. Leaves the city. And then he goes, okay, and leaves.
He never comes back.
Richard Roundtree died on the way back to his home planet, you know?
It's kind of incredible.
I understand only getting in for one episode, right?
He's in there for 4 minutes.
Yeah, but like, give him more than one scene and give him a better, more emotional reason to leave. You know, like maybe have him be around Blade for a bunch of the episode, and at the end he finally realizes he can't reconcile this and he leaves.
Or he dies.
Or whatever. Just having him come in and be like, oh, hey Blade, and Blade's like, fuck you, and he's like, oh, I didn't expect that you wouldn't like me after I pretended I was dead for half your life.
He does like a Charlie Brown, like, sad walk out of the show.
Yeah, exactly, and then we're like...
There goes half the show's budget.
Yeah, and we're like, oh, I guess he's gone now. And then you told me he was like, he's only credited in this episode. And I was like, oh, bye, I guess.
And, like, that was the thing where I was like, yeah, fuck this show. Like we said, the sets are hideous and cheap. But I think, like, from a writing perspective as well, like, the plot stuff is interesting, but I think the best written character is probably the Marcus Van Skye character.
Yeah, he's got some good motivations. Yeah.
But no one else, like, maybe Chase has, like, a bit of a backstory.
I do like Chase, but I think a lot of it is coming from the actress as opposed to her writing. Because her story is basically be the jealous woman. That's kind of it. But she kind of makes it work because I think she's got, like, charisma.
Also, this is kind of confirming what I kind of thought at the end of Blade Trinity, is that I don't think I like vampires very much.
Right.
I think they're fucking terrible, and I found myself so bored.
Have you read Dracula?
I've not read Dracula.
Dracula's good. It's a good book.
Dracula's good. I'll try Dracula, but like...
I'm underselling it. It's one of the best books ever written. It's great.
Okay. But like, I feel like, especially recently, over the last like 15, 20 years...
I think it was overdone. I feel like there was more of a peak time for vampires.
I feel like we should never do a vampire thing again.
It had a big thing in the late 90s. I know, I love Buffy. Buffy is great.
Okay, I haven't seen Buffy.
Buffy is great, but it's not really like...
about vampires. So
I mean, it is, but it's like vampires are a main threat, but there's other mystical shit going on. And her relationships with vampires are like, they happen, but they're not the only part of the show. You know, it's not all about her unlikely friendship or whatever with vampires. It's just a thing that's there. It's more about the group dynamic and the dialogue and shit.
But like, just as like a mystical being to have in a 13 episode run of a TV show, I'm sure like they're good, but I just find all like the sexy drama a bit too much.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is that it's hard to get right.
That's probably it, and it's definitely not done right.
And if you get it wrong, then yeah.
It's overly self-serious, but like it's too goofy to take seriously, and you're left with something that's just really, really like kind of boring.
Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
I've not seen that either.
I mean, you might like it, because that's definitely a thing of like, it makes fun of vampire mythology.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, it's a Taika Waititi movie with like Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi in it.
Yeah.
And it's like you've got vampires from different eras all living in a house, and it's like a mockumentary. This sort of Flight of the Conchords, New Zealandish humour. Like the older one who in the house that doesn't say anything is like a Nosferatu type vampire. It's just like very much like taking all those things and making fun of it. So you might get something out of that, because of course that isn't taking itself seriously at all.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm not like a super into vampires either, but I do think it's fun when it's done right. Really like Buffy. I really like a movie by Catherine Bigelow called Near Dark.
Not heard of that.
I mean, it's got Bill Paxton in it. It's all you really need to know.
Yeah.
I think it's Bill Paxton's best performance as well. Only Lovers Left Alive, I like that one. But yeah, I think it's kind of like Zombies. I think it's been done well.
Yeah.
And it's been done badly a lot.
I don't know, like I while I can appreciate on like an objective level that the vampire stuff was probably the most compelling part of the show, I just found it super hard to give a shit.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how much you can blame that on vampires, because vampires are not the problem with this show.
Yeah.
I tell you who it is. It's a bunch of creators who think they're incredible and they're not.
Yeah. Oh,
fucking like we watched some behind the scenes stuff, right?
Oh yeah, the behind the scenes stuff was like, it was like We Are Spinal Tap level of mockumentary.
Yeah, exactly. Like this lack of self-awareness, because of course we watched this right after watching the whole show, so we knew that the show at its best was fun trash.
Yeah.
We also know that Blade Trinity, no one likes that, and that David S. Goyer's career has kind of gone on to, he's got the weirdest fucking credits. Like he's got so many good movies on that and so many shit movies.
All the movies that are good of his succeed despite him.
Exactly, and I feel like this is him like with more.
This is like Goyer Unleashed.
Exactly. Like, let's go through like his fucking writing credits, right? You got a bunch of stuff I haven't heard of in the early 90s. Then the sequel to The Crow.
Oh, God.
Then he wrote the screenplay for Dark City, which is actually pretty good. Then he wrote the screenplay for there's a Nick Fury movie with David Hasselhoff?
I did not know that.
Well, that exists, and it was written by David S. Goyer.
Never watching that.
Yeah, then the same year he did Blade, which is good, and Blade 2, which is good, and Blade Trinity, which is terrible. Then right after Blade Trinity, like a year later, he does Batman Begins. Then a couple of years later, he does Blade the series, which is terrible. Then he does Jumper,
which is not good.
Then he doesn't write, but he does the story for The Dark Knight. I like The Dark Knight, but I
don't really like the story.
I think it's good from a screenplay point of view, but that's not the story, if you know what I mean. Like, the actual story of what happens is kind of nonsense. But
It's
the
kind
way,
of nonsense.
yeah, but the conversations those characters have and the way they progress is the good thing about it. So I feel like, if anything, he's the worst part about the Dark Knight. And then he fucking did a Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance.
Is that the one where Nicolas Cage pisses fire?
Yeah, and it's better than the first Ghost Rider, but it's still pretty shit. And then he did the story for a bunch of Call of Duty games.
Yeah, that's about right.
He did Man of Steel.
I think the first half of Man of Steel is really good.
Yeah, and I don't think it's this screenplay thing.
No.
I think the screenplay is the worst thing about it. Like, I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder, but I think Zack Snyder...
I could do a whole fucking podcast on Zack Snyder.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not a fan of his,
Yeah.
and the best thing about Man of Steel for me is Zack Snyder. I like his direction in that for the most part.
Yeah.
It's a screenplay. I'm not a fan.
Just don't let him anywhere near a script.
And then he does the Constantine TV show, and then he does Batman v Superman.
Oof.
Then he does the Krypton TV show. Then he does Terminator Dark Fate.
Oof.
And then he's doing like a Hellraiser reboot or something. Like, it's all over the place. And I feel like the best ones on there are where he's working with really talented people. And
I mean, if you got Christopher Nolan or someone like that to say no, David, don't do that. That's a stupid idea. Bad, David. And he makes things which are good.
I had this resistance before we recorded this, going all out on him, because I kind of thought, I don't want to be that guy who... This dude. Yeah, especially with a writer who is working in a studio system to be put all this blame at them, or to talk shit when he did do some good stuff, and I don't know what the process was like, Then we watched that behind the scenes thing, and I realised that he's... Okay, I have a few notes here. Okay, the director, Peter O'Fallon, who directed the pilot, which is the worst part of the show.
It's horrible.
Said what we suspected, which is that the premise of the show for them was to make a Marvel version of The Wire or The Sopranos. Then the director goes on to say that he thinks that the problem with superhero movies is that they don't explain enough, and they need to go into more detail on how all the shit works, which I think is the most annoying way to approach anything.
And he went on to make Blade the series, which is really funny to me, because there's so much of the show that's just not explained.
Beyond that, my other two notes. David S. Goyer, and this is actual quotes, he said that when they were trying to create the show, the tone they were going for is, and I quote, dark, 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 end quote, and, quote, not PC. When you're describing stuff like that, I feel like that does give away a certain, I don't know, juvenile sort of place you're coming from.
I would say not juvenile, maybe adolescent.
Yeah.
Adolescent.
Why
did I say adolescent?
I don't know.
But it's a very cynical, but not cynical from a life speak me down, but look at how bad everything is. That kind of the thing about Zack Snyder that makes me upset is that for the vast majority of his films are devoid of joy.
Right.
It's they go this shouldn't be fun because life's not fair.
This definitely does have that.
It's the fucking Papa Roach of movies.
There's definitely a sense of a lack of joy in this, and the points where, I don't know, Sticky gets to actually smile or crack a joke or something, it's actually when...
It's usually after he's started to commit violence on a woman.
Again, I'm trying to compliment it and you fucking ruined my compliment. I was about to say, one of the few moments when the show comes alive.
Is when it's beating women.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Kidding.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, we can say the same thing about Game of Thrones, to be honest, which is a much better show.
But is it more or less misogynistic than...
Well, there's more of it because the show went on for longer.
Yeah.
But it still has the same thing of this conversation about philosophy is going to be backgrounded by 100 naked women who are giggling, and then those women will then get horribly murdered in the next scene for some reason.
It's hot fantasy that fucks.
Exactly. Thank you, Lindsay Ellis.
Yeah, shout out to Lindsay Ellis.
Anyway, until my notes for that, I then stopped making notes because I had too much stuff to write down and I just gave up, and all I wrote is, Goyer is so dumb and full of his own shit. And I just stopped quoting him because I was I can't even. This guy is confirming every suspicion I had of him.
Absolutely. And you can kind of tell from Blade Trinity because that's the one where he's both writing and directing.
Yeah, and it's I like the first two Blades, but they're the strong thing about them is not their script or their story. The best script moments you pretty much assume are all improvised by Wesley Snipes. And the rest sort of comes from the direction, you know?
Like the art style.
Or the art style, the production design.
But like screenplay-wise, like they're all pretty terrible.
Or at least just fine, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're just like not really...
They don't really do anything special.
Yeah. The one thing I say, I think the screenplay for Batman Begins is really good, but I think he had co-writers on that, maybe with like Jonathan Nolan, and who knows? I mean...
Fucking David S. Goyer, man.
Speaking of like people who turn up in this show for like one episode and then disappear.
Oh no.
Randy Quaid is in this show.
Yeah, Randy Quaid shows up.
Randy Quaid's in the pilot. I can't remember if he's in both parts of the pilot or what, but he shows up playing this guy he's got like glasses with only like, what do you call that? You should know, you're wearing glasses right now.
Don't ask me, like, there's no like fucking, I don't know actually. It's like he's got a pair of like glasses. A part of the bit that goes like around your ears.
Yeah.
One of them isn't that. So half the scenes are like his glasses like on his face, but they're kind of like at like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
It looks like he's just come out of like having sex in a broom closet or something.
And this is part of why I thought that the show was going in the direction of Krista being this like audience POV character who gets embroiled in the world of Blade and that be it. Because those stories tend to start with like a conspiracy guy who turns out to be right. And that's who Randy Quaid is. I think they did a similar thing in maybe like the first season of the reboot of Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. Not reboot, the refresh, whatever you call it. But when they came back with Christopher Eccleston in 2005, they kind of did a thing of like, who is this mysterious guy? And then there's all these conspiracy guys on the internet. It turns out that they're kind of right about him, and the person who ends up being his companion goes to these people to find out about the Doctor and stuff like that. And I thought that's where this was going, but he's kind of there basically as an info dump, because it's not even like a conspiracy thing. Like he goes in and he goes, oh yeah,
this is what it is.
Yeah, here's the origin story of Blade. This is exactly how Blade came to be. And you think, how do you know this shit? From like research, apparently there's a point where they make reference to the end of Blade Trinity where they let off the something star. I can't remember. Whether the thing is the end where they inject Dracula with the thing, and then it's meant to wipe out all vampires on Earth, and you see all these vampires die, and then in this they're like, no, actually, no, that didn't happen. I think there's a throwaway line about how a bunch of them died, like in that city or something like that. But like in the world, they're still over, which means the end of that movie just didn't really matter. Especially since like this whole season is occupied with one house, and then you interact a little bit with one other house. But there's like 12 houses. Blade spends most of it fucking with not even the head of that house, just someone who's vying to be the head of that house.
Yeah. It's like if we had like Game of Thrones, but it was just focused on Stannis Baratheon for 5 seasons. Yeah,
exactly. And fucking Blade in the movies as well. He was feared across the world, and it was like there was a vast conspiracy that it was hard for him to match up to, but like people were afraid of him and he was fucking their shit up and driving them underground. And they had to have these crazy methods to sort of try and get one up on him.
Yeah.
And in this, it's just like he's just so vastly outnumbered, and then he gets in a fight with like 3 recently turned inexperienced vampires, and then
they kick the shit
out of him. So I don't really know why Randy Quaid knows this huge legacy of Blade when apparently he doesn't really do much.
He's just some dude, yeah.
And he didn't even get Randy Quaid for that long, because not only is he only in this episode for like 2 scenes or something, but he's not even officially credited. He's literally on IMDb there as uncredited.
Yeah.
You think there might have been a point where Randy Quaid would have put more time into it, you know?
Yeah.
Because you could have had him for longer. And this show really doesn't have any stars.
It has nobody.
It has Richard Roundtree for 30 seconds.
But King would Bayern, who would have been a nobody in 2006.
Yeah, 100%. Like, he's kind of a name now, like in TV and stuff. And he'd been working at the time, but he wasn't. People didn't really know him, which is why he was in Blade.
Yeah.
And I looked. Who?
Jill Wagner was acting.
They were all acting, but like, you only know her name because you can remember actor names really well, apparently.
Yeah.
When I found out Randy Quaid was in this, I thought, oh, that's their their person.
Yeah.
But they didn't even get in it.
Like,
You
what?
know?
If you're like a studio going, like, we want to blade this series, at one point do you go, like, this is a bad idea? Because I feel like if you're pitching this to a series, what's your USP on this? You have off the back of Blade Trinity. You know, you have one bankable star who lost his mind on that set. The movie did terribly. How do you pitch this to a TV network and then go, yes, that's a good idea?
You
Please
say, we got Randy Quaid.
And that's why they're at Spike TV.
Do you know anything about Randy Quaid? Like
No.
his personal life?
No, I know it's insane, but I don't know much.
Alright, well, since you got into all the Wesley Snipes stuff last episode, I'll tell you some stuff about the legal troubles of Randy Quaid. I'll try and go over this quick, but it's funny to me, so I wrote some of it down. In 2009, Quaid and his wife were arrested for allegedly defrauding an innkeeper in Santa Barbara by using an invalid credit card to pay $10,000. They were released on bail and then paid most of the bill. However, they failed to appear in court multiple times and warrants were issued for their arrest. Eventually, they did go to court and it was thrown out because there was a lack of evidence on Randy Quaid, but there was on his wife. So she still got put on probation for 3 years.
Yeah.
Then in 2010, they were charged with burglary after they spent 5 days occupying the guest house in a vacant home they once owned. They claimed that the home was wrongfully transferred to a third party with a forged signature. They again failed to appear in court and warrants were issued for their arrest. Then that same year, they moved to Vancouver, Canada, where they sought asylum, stating that they feared for their lives in the US. Border authorities arrested the couple for their outstanding warrants. Then she, later, like a year later, his wife was granted citizenship in Canada based on her parents. And he sought permanent resident status as the husband of a Canadian. And this was denied. Then he moved to Montreal and was arrested for not checking in as a non-resident. Then they sued the State Department for revoking their passports.
My God.
And then by 2015, Quaid's legal appeals in Canada were exhausted and he was notified he was to be deported.
He's banned from Canada.
A week before the deportation, they drove across the border into Vermont, where they were detained by US Customs. And I think the last weird thing was that after all this, Quaid held a press conference to say that the reason he was released from jail was that the judge had issued an arrest warrant before the crime had been committed. Which is like the weirdest argument. Anyway, that's our Randy Quaid corner. Maybe we need a little theme tune.
A little update on Randy Quaid. Well, that's amazing.
Do you have any like highlights or lowlights that you want to bring up from this show?
My one highlight, like, on the one hand, there was the whole Bokeem Woodbine stuff, and the Richard Roundtree, I guess, cameo. But, like, my favourite episode is the one where, like, Krista's mum goes on the run as, like, a middle-aged lady vampire. And it's the goofiest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, I found that kind of distressing. Not as it was meant to be distressing, but there's a certain thing that bugs me in TV and movies more, where they're clearly angling for you to feel a certain way, but what they're showing you is just in complete contrast with that, and it bugs me a lot, because I'm like, the show is telling me to feel sorry for Krista for this getting out of hand, and the whole time I'm thinking, this was so stupid.
This was entirely
your character is smarter than this decision.
Yeah.
Anyone is smarter than this decision.
It's a terrible decision.
And you entirely deserve this, so I have no sympathy, but the show is saying, poor Krista.
Look at her, she converted her mother into a vampire. You know, what a turn of rotten luck for poor old Krista. Don't you agree, folks?
One of the reasons the Bokeem Woodbine stuff is good is because it fills in some parts of Blade's backstory. In the same way that you kind of would in these like Marvel Netflix shows where, you know, they might spend an episode with a flashback or something. I think the stuff with Bokeem was good because Bokeem is good.
Yeah.
But the rest of it didn't really work for me, especially when they just pile on the tragedy as well. At this point, right, I wrote this down actually. He had like a mentor, right, that they introduced in this, who like was helping him when he was younger, and I think gets him interested in like katanas and shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, that guy gets shot.
Yeah.
His dad gets shot and supposedly killed.
Yeah.
Whistler
Gets shot in the leg.
Then in the movies, he shoots himself in the head because he got bitten by a vampire, then brought back to life and then blows himself up. His mother gets tragically killed when he's a kid and then brought back to life and then killed again. Every single parent figure in his life has died, and more than one of them has died more than once.
Yeah.
That's too much.
And he's like, yeah, like they're just trying to wring every last bit of empathy and sympathy out of you to make you like feel for this dog shit character. You know? And the thing with this show is that they had time to actually make a character for Blade. They had so much time.
Yeah.
They had so much goddamn time.
Although that reminds me of Netflix shows as well, a little bit of. At least they're trying with the character stuff, but like, there's a lot of wheel spinning. And you don't know why, because it's like, why not just sort of go all out? At least this show, I mean, part of it might be a budget thing, but there's still a lot of action, you know?
I would have preferred a little bit less action to be like, okay, this is what Blade is as a person, because I think in a movie there's not really much time to really go into like what makes a character tick, and a lot of your personalities depending on the actor who's playing him. But if you have something like a 13-episode run of a character like Blade, you've lost your main actor. This is your chance to go, okay, this is what our character's about. And it's not that they fail, it's that they don't even try.
Right.
And it's confusing.
You hear them talk about it and it sounds like they think that they're making the fucking Wire. You know?
Yeah. And they genuinely did. Like, I remember very early on, like, I was talking about this being, like, aping prestige TV. And then it sounded ridiculous when I said it, but then, like, the fucking director was like, yeah, we're trying to make the Wire.
Yeah, because I was like, no, they're not doing that. It's just you're saying prestige because it has boobs in it. That's not prestige TV. No, they thought they were doing that.
They thought they were making prestige vampire TV.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you were like if you're a director and you say the phrase prestige vampire TV out loud, you don't know you're talking shit.
Yeah, or you say, this is The Wire.
I am the David Chase of this TV show.
Yeah.
That idea alone. Okay, so if we had to rate this TV show at a score of 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
Bear with me. I'd say a 4. Maybe a 5 at a stretch, because there was some fun in it, but that fun came from a place of being kind of good. Terrible, yeah. So I guess I have to go for a 4. I'd say I liked it more than Blade Trinity.
I don't think I can say that.
I think Blade Trinity is obviously a better experience because it's 2 hours instead of 13 hours.
Yeah.
This show is like the reverse Luke Cage season 1.
Yeah.
Where it starts terribly and then becomes kind of good at the end. Whereas like Luke Cage started really well and it became terrible. Although terrible Luke Cage is kind of like the top end of this show.
Yeah. Like Luke Cage was like prestige TV compared to the peaks of Blade, the series.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to kind of go into like the blaxploitation element of Blade and how that was a potential thing that they squandered as well. But a lot of me is just frustrated at how bad this was. There was no reason for it to be this bad.
I feel like I ended up having not a bad time with it, mostly because it started off so bad. My expectations dropped so much that it was easy for me to start getting on board towards the end, you know?
I also feel like you're paying a lot less attention than I was.
I do make a point of trying not to like use my phone or other devices when I watch stuff, you know, because I'm like, this is a thing I'm watching, I'm paying attention, you know, I'm not getting distracted. That did not happen with this. I was very distracted all the time, especially at the start because it was just so monotonous at the start. I mean, yeah, there was definitely a point where I somehow missed an explosion.
Yeah.
I was like, why is that person covered in burns? And you were like, that building just blew up. And I'm like, how did I not... Like, that's how boring it was that I didn't notice the explosion. So maybe, like, that stuff hurt me less because I was just less I was trying less as
Yeah.
a viewer, but I didn't come away like hating it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never revisit it. I guess I'm gonna have to give that DVD to a charity shop, or it'll just sit on my shelf forever. And I won't recommend it to anyone.
I'd recommend don't watch it.
It's not even like a level of. I'm not sure if it would be worth looking up clips on YouTube, really.
Yeah.
Because even the good bits they're not better than any other Blade clips you can look up online.
Probably a lot worse.
So there's little sparks of like, whoa, that's cool. And even like, if you're someone who gets a kick out of like gory deaths and shit, there's a couple of good moments with that. In fact, there was one death which was crazy. I think it was the serial killer vampire.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, he rips off
jaw.
He rips off his entire jaw.
Yeah.
And then he throws him through a window where it's daylight out, so he incinerates. Blade's car's below and it just gets drenched in ash. And then cuts back to Sticky, who just smiles, and then goes and drives off in that car. And I'm like, that reminded me of some of the Blade comics I've liked, where it's just like, this guy is brutal and he is crazy,
Yeah.
Like, that's unnecessarily sadistic, but he's doing it to a monster. It's kind of an ambiguous thing. And there's a couple of moments in this show where they sort of lean into that, and it kind of works. And I feel like there could be an overhaul Imaginary Fantasy Season 2 where they made that work. But
I feel like the show needed to be crazier. At the heart of it, you have this vampire hunter who is off of his fucking rocker.
yeah.
And that's what makes Blade work, is that like you got this crazy person hunting vampires.
Yeah.
And Sticky Finger plays it so like cool.
Mm.
That
He's
it's
very much like, what was it we were saying? He's playing it like Omar in The Wire.
Yeah.
Like, his voice is affected in that way. Especially early on, he's trying to do a bit of a Wesley Snipes thing.
Yeah.
And it's not quite that. And I think there's a couple of bits later on where he kind of gets into the groove a little bit in that way. But like, you can tell he's doing his Blade.
Rather than trying to like live up to Wesley Snipes.
I think this is why, if you're going to get another live action Blade, you need to get someone like Mahershala Ali, who will bring some gravitas.
I think that the goofy, like Wesley Snipes kind of Blade is not achievable now.
Yeah.
They go in an entirely different direction.
But also, I don't think Wesley Snipes' level of goofy, strange, campy charisma is possible for any actor, necessarily.
No.
It's a very specific brand, and you have to get away from that.
Yeah, because it's going
You can't recapture it. You can't try and do it again. Mahershala Ali's going to have to do something completely different. His version of a stoic, traumatized, vengeance-driven dude, which I think he would pull off.
I think Mahershala Ali can actually, well, I want to say he can act, but that's a bit of an understatement.
Yeah.
I feel like...
I mean, he's one of the best actors alive.
Yeah. So you could say he's done a few of these movies.
Yeah, he can probably handle playing a guy who stakes vampires.
Yeah. He's got a couple of Oscars, so I got some faith. If I were to rate this out of 10...
Oh yeah, you only put your rating.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this like intensely for the past, like, how long has it been since we started watching the show? Like, a bit less than a week?
A few years.
Yeah, it feels like it. But like, based on those 5 episodes, I was like, not even joking, I was like, this is a 0 out of 10. This is like...
Right, yeah.
This is among the worst TV I've ever seen.
I tell you what, I just interrupt you for a second. I think the reason I'm slightly impressed by the show is that it crawled to like a 5 from 0. And that is a big crawl.
That's a big jump.
To something that's still not good, but like that's a big crawl. If you went like from like 2 to 7 or from 5 to 10, that would be like ridiculous. So I almost want to be like, it was on its way somewhere.
Yeah, if you get it, maybe even another season, it would have gone to 10. It started terribly, and I did enjoy it in parts towards the end, but I think, like, even for me, I would say a 4 is a bit too generous. Like, 4 is, like, just below average, if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
And this is, like...
But average, to me, is not necessarily a good thing. Like, not average as in good. Like, the word just good. 5 is, like, almost like a nothing. Like, the good and the bad.
It's fine.
balances out into kind of a nothing.
I don't feel that.
A 5 can be worse than a 2, you know.
But I don't think this particular 5 is worse than a 2. I feel like this is definitely a 2 in terms of like a TV show and how, like from this point of like even like the sets, like the characters, the action is the only redeemable part of it. So that's why it's got a 2.
Yeah.
But everything else is like 1s and 0s. It's fucking binary code.
I'll amend mine to say I'm going to give it a 4, but I'm giving Blade House of Thorn, aka the TV movie they made out of the pilot episodes, I'm giving that a 1.
I think that's generous. That's like half a star, as in 1 star.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's fucking terrible.
If we're doing halves, then it's half. But I mean, technically a 1 is half a star if you're doing a 5-star system. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a 1 out of 10. But this show as a whole, it kind of brought it up to a 4. It did some work.
Okay.
Do you have anything more to say about Blade the series?
I don't think I could say another word about this fucking TV show.
But you'll have to still have some words to say about another Blade TV show. We're going to be doing one last Blade retrospective, which will be on the Blade anime, which also had 1 season and thankfully is a little bit shorter than this. And we're going to be checking out...
And thankfully David Esquire is not involved.
Is he not?
I don't think he is.
Well, you say that, and then we're going to have to take it back next time. But either way, we'll be reviewing that in our next Patreon episode. Beyond that, then we'll start looking into the future. But for now...
we are done. So, I'm not in the best of mood having watched Blade the series, but we hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll catch you next time for our Blade the Animated series, I guess is what it is. I meant the anime, but...
Blade anime.
Blade anime.
Blanime.
The Blanime. But yeah, that's been That 90s Spider-Man show with Blade the series. Do not watch this show. Good night, folks.